Lagos, it is 16 minutes gone past five, and time to get in on our personal finance. And today, yes, we're going to be talking about something very interesting, talking about the money markets. How can you delve into it? How can you dive and make sense of it? Well, my guest is going to be telling us how to make sense of the money market, especially for those who are always thinking of how they want to invest wisely. My guest is Oyinkansola Aregbesola. She is the investment associate at AAG Capital. Good to have you with me, Oyinkansola.
Thank you for having me. Good evening.
Lagos, as always, you know that you can share your thoughts and, well, in case you're wondering, how can you also make sense of the money markets? Yeah, some people don't even have an idea, but hey, we have capable hands, or we are in capable hands this evening, and she's going to be sharing all the insights that we probably haven't thought about. All that is very necessary at this time because I see how people are constantly thinking, okay, I need to make extra money, but I'm not sure how to go about it. But you know what? Rest assured that you're going to get all that information and so much more. But as always, uh, we're going to be taking it bit by bit. So come through, have your jotters ready so you can pen down everything you need to know. Let's even start with the treasury bills. I know that to a certain degree, we understand that a minimum investment is 50 million. And that just seems like, who are we? Are we Dangote and the family? But yes, 50 million is what you need to participate in the primary market auctions. How now can an average Nigerian participate in this space? Because yeah, we need extra funds and ways to make money, but 50 million, where do I want to see from? I don't have what's the thing? I don't have funds, if you know what I mean. Yeah, please come through. Let me know.
Thank you, Joy, for that question. So, yeah, you might actually be a bit scared when you hear that. No,
Mhm.
scared.
A lot scared
Yeah,
though.
that 50 million minimum to participate in the primary auction for treasury bills. But
Mhm.
really, we have institutions that have actually made it easier for the average Nigerian to invest for as low as even 100K. So you can basically just walk up to your bank or any financial institution that basically invest on your behalf. So what they do is they invest, they will buy that particular amount and then spread or
Yeah.
share among the
Mm.
individuals that have put in their capital, their amount and the bid. So basically, it's not you don't really need 50 million
That
to
full,
pay
yes.
that
Mm.
regard. So basically, it just means you are not dealing directly with the DMO, the federal government in this instance, but you're dealing with the federal government through these financial institutions or banks. So you can actually walk up to your bank and ask about how to go about it.
That's just a big relief because thinking about 50 million, that's going to cause some heart palpitations. Well, thank you so much for laying that to bear that, hey, even as little as 100,000, you can get it done. Just ask your financial institution for how you can go about it, and you'll be, sailing way with some extra investments. Yes, because that basically is what you're doing, investing in treasury bills. But what factors actually motivate the rates for the different tenors when it comes to treasury bills at the primary level?
So for the rates at the primary levels, what really influence the rates? There are several factors really, but I'll say that the major factor would be the demand side of things in terms of liquidity. What's liquidity like in the market before the auction?
Okay.
So there are not enough liquidity. So basically, it's just the law of supply and demand. So if there's
Mhm.
lower demand at the auction, we might actually see, higher stop rates. But if you see
Mhm.
more demand in the market, if you see if you see more demand in the market, it might actually push the rates downward, right? So it's
Okay.
just a normal, usual supply and demand law that could, that would actually play in the market as well. But aside that, the CBN also will typically guide rates at the market, especially for treasury bills. So they could guide rates for because normally you're supposed to receive higher stop rates on your longer
Okay.
tenor bills and lower tenor bills. That's the normal. So they tend to ensure that they guide rates, along that line, ensuring that
Mm.
364-day bill stop rate, for example, is usually higher than the 91-day bill and 192-day bill.
All right. That makes it even more, easy to get in. But now let's even talk about Nigeria's headline inflation for March. I know that it came up to 24.23%, and that makes me question, right? Can the treasury bills beat that rate?
Okay, so in terms of the current yield, it's basically below the current inflation rates, right?
Okay.
But still doesn't, will I say, it still doesn't negate the importance of, investing in treasury bills, right? Because
Oh,
aside,
okay.
yeah, so investing in treasury bills doesn't mean that that's the only asset class that you're investing in as an investor. It could be like a form of diversification,
Mm,
for you in that regard. And it still beats keeping your money in your savings account or just leaving your cash idle. So yes,
right.
not beat the current inflation rate, but yes, it does beat the longer average inflation rate because the longer the average inflation rate is, quite lower than the 24% levels that we're seeing at the moment.
Well, that actually makes a whole lot of sense. And thank you for explaining that because when I'm seeing that, I'm like, okay, are we safe? Inflation just seems to be making everybody unsure of what next move to take and all. But now that you've made that clear, rather than just keep my money in my bank account that's not yielding anything, it's best to actually put it where it will yield something for me. And what exactly is the true yield on treasury bills?
Okay, so that's a great question because I actually do get, this kind of questions before.
Hmm.
So true yield really is the actual amount that you earn, right, in
Okay.
invest in treasury bills. So the way
Okay.
treasury bills work is it's a discount instrument. And what do I mean? I mean, when you invest, let's say for example, 2 million naira in treasury bills, and
Right.
the stop rate is set at 20%, for example, which is the interest rate. So
Okay.
ideally, you're receiving 400,000 naira interest, right? But that
Oh,
interest,
okay.
you receive it upfront. What do I mean? The day you're debited 2 million from your account, you also get
Mhm.
400,000 that same time. So it's not
Okay.
like you're putting your money and then getting your interest later. You're actually getting, as you're putting your
As it
money,
is,
you're getting your
is how
interest.
you're getting.
Yeah, so
Mm.
normally, yes, we said the stop rate is 20%, right? But
Right.
what we should look at what you really put in. What you really put in is not 2 million. What you put in is actually 1.6, right?
Oh,
Because
oh,
yeah, the 400,000, right?
yes.
So, so how you calculate your true yield is now the 400,000 divided by 1.6.
Okay.
So we typically get, a percentage that's higher than, that 20%. So that would be your true yield. So it's the actual amount that you earn on your investment.
I like that. Very easily broken down. No more confusions. Now I know what it means. Because sometimes I'm asking my account broker and it's like, but I thought I told you before. Now it makes a whole lot of sense now that you've, shed more light on it and broken it down. But it's that is for treasury bills. There are those who love to invest in bonds. So now let's move to bonds, right? The last retail savings bond offer for April was 16.046%. And that was for April, right? For the 2 year uh rate, I guess, and you have that's for 2 years, but for 3 years you have 17.046. Looking at these numbers, well, somehow I was a bit confused, needed clarity, but I'd like to understand. Seeing as both are below the headline inflation, as they're still as we see right now, are they still worth investing in?
Okay, so like I alluded earlier, there are several reasons why you're doing this sort of investment. It can be
Okay.
a way
Long
of
term,
long term, and there's also the
short
diversification.
term. Oh,
The
okay. Right.
usual, the usual saying, don't put all your egg in one.
In one basket.
So
Mm.
put all your life savings in cryptocurrency, for example. If I mean Bitcoin currently is
Okay.
declining, imagine you put all your money in cryptocurrency.
Oh my
You'll be
word.
wondering, what's going to happen to me tomorrow, right? So you
Right.
need to diversify your income, your investments, right?
Mhm.
So instead of just putting in one asset class, you can put severally across. So that's
Spread
actually
it
one.
apart.
Yeah, so that's one of the strategies that investors, look out for when it comes to FDN savings bond. FDN savings bond could also be like one of, that asset class they need to, invest in. But there's also
Hmm.
peculiarity with FDN savings bond. For FDN savings bond, you actually get your interest on a quarterly basis. So it can be in form of helping to control your income in terms of cash flow, maybe just cash flow management, basically. I mean, if you had invest a very large amount of fund into this savings bond, you are rest assured that you have interest coming in every quarter from the federal government that can cater to your, everyday expenses, right?
Mhm.
So looking beyond the interest rates being below inflation rate doesn't really matter at this point. When you look at the purpose of that investment, so there's the issue of diversification. There's also the
Mhm.
issue of your investment goal in terms of, is it long term? So I
Always a
think
shot.
for
Yeah.
long term investments, it's a suitable
Mhm.
kind of investment to look into.
All right. That is great to know. But here's something I would love to know. Right. So we, as everyone is right now always looking for something to put their funds in, invest according to their risk appetite, should a balanced portfolio right now include treasury bills, sovereign, and retail bonds?
I would actually say yes, and reason being the fact that this instrument that you've actually mentioned, they have a peculiar characteristics, right? So for treasury bills, like I said, is a discount instrument. You get your
Right.
interest front, right?
Upfront.
Yeah, and
Mm-hmm.
maturity receive the face value.
Mm-hmm.
So that's for short term. That because
Okay.
the highest duration for treasury bill is 364 days. That's basically a year,
A
right?
year.
So if you are also looking to do long-term investments, you can then look at the sovereign bonds, the FGN service bond, FGN bonds. You have the
Okay.
10-year, you have the 5-year, you have the 15, 30 years, right? So if you're looking to save towards retirement, that's basically a suitable investment to look into. If you are looking to manage your cash in terms of cash management, the FGN service bond is your best bet.
Is another
You receive
opportunity.
interest on a quarterly basis, right? So basically, it's so I'll say having those three different instruments is actually
Mm-hmm.
something that's
We
sensible.
should. Okay. And finally, before I let you go, because well, we are out of time, but in a minute or less, I'd love to have your thoughts on this. Are there any risks associated with actually investing in fixed income and money market securities in Nigeria?
Okay, so I will take the fixed income first. For the fixed income,
Okay.
I mean, we hear the popular saying zero risks or zero risks,
Or
basically,
no, yes.
or risk-free rates or risk-free instruments. Why? Because,
Hmm.
and the reason why we're saying that is because it's backed by the federal government. So, I
Okay.
mean, federal government can't run away, basically, right? So
Right.
that's yeah.
That's reassuring.
But to a large extent, because I mean, we have the Ghana issue and all of that, but to a
Mm.
large extent, it is
Let's stick to our Nigerian office.
it's
Let's not
not
let's
to a large extent is actually risk free because it's backed by the federal government
for
of
the
Nigeria.
government.
Yep, so
Right.
the money market, it really depends on the institution that is issuing it. So it depends on
Okay.
their credit rating. So you might want to check, the
What their
credit
rates are.
before,
Credibility is.
yeah, before you invest.
Ah, Yinkosola, I wish we could just keep talking about this, but sadly, we've got to draw a curtain on this side of the personal finance. And I'm sure that when we reach out next time to ask further questions, you'll always be available to give us the goodies, as I like to refer to them as. But I trust you have yourself a pleasant evening.
Yeah, thank you very much for having me.
All right, Lagos. Don't go nowhere. Don't move no muscle because personal finance is still here, and we're going to be discussing about the Visa Value of Acceptance report. Just stay tuned. 8.1. It's all about your finances made easy because financial education is about